Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, Syndicate members. What is happening, man? It is Wednesday, which means we are live from Austin, Texas, right here in Syndicate headquarters. My name is Tony Merwin. That is the king of Facebook groups, the king of trucking insurance, the jolly ginger giant himself, Joe Softball, Mr. Joe Frazier Camper.
The intro just keeps getting longer and longer. Good morning, everybody. Apparently, I'm not the king of freaking audio because for some reason these work half the time and then they don't. So, but I guess I have a pair of backup studio beats for it just in case. So good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great start to your week. Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. As always, just a quick reminder, if you can, make sure and let Facebook or StreamYard view your Facebook comments. It is in the description of the show, just so that we can't get you up here on the screen like Mr. Alex Sala. What's up, brother? Good morning. Good morning. Let's go. We are super hyped. We've got an amazing guest that's a little bit newer to the industry that's going to come on and really just drop some sales knowledge for everybody. So I'm super excited for that. Great guy. But before we get into that, you guys all know weekly win. Drop that in the comments as well. We want to hear what you got going on. We want to celebrate with you. Man, my weekly win. You know, I've got quite a few. We've got a lot. I know. I think it was probably playing lacrosse this past weekend in St. Louis. So we went to, some of you guys probably saw, or maybe you didn't. I've been in St. Louis since Thursday. I went there, had a rehearsal dinner. My wife's brother, Atanasio, was getting married. Then we had a baby shower, and then we ended up changing our flights because they wanted to have a huge cookout. And I was like, well, if I change my flights, then that means I get to go play lacrosse. And so that's probably a fun fact that a lot of you guys don't know about me is I did grow up playing lacrosse, played in college at a collegiate level there. I say NCAA affiliated. I don't ever tell them it was D3, but I played NCAA.
You just did.
And got to do a couple years with my brother in college there before obviously dropped out and got in the insurance. So it's definitely been a love of mine. Haven't been able to coach, haven't been able to play just with the family and the business and everything. So getting to get back there and play, it was funny. My wife's mom saw me the next day. She's like, geez, she's like, what'd you do? Your face, you just look so relaxed. She's like, I haven't seen you like this. And I was kind of like, huh, but I did really miss it. And it was good to get back out there. And I mean, I still got it. So that's the other thing. It did feel pretty good. It would have, I don't know if I'd have the best experience if I was super rusty. But that's probably my weekly win, man. Now, obviously back in the office, getting after it. So
Still got it, he says.
Still got it, dude. Clearing it, running up the field, no look assist, dimes, dude. I'm telling you, man. Still got it. What's new with you? What's going on in your world?
Man, enjoying it here in the office and doing my thing, getting ready for AEP. If I had a weekly win, it would be pretty simple. It would be a new car.
Love it.
One.
Come on.
Made some decisions to kind of change things around here. It was time to get rid of the Caddy. So we traded in the Caddy and upgraded to a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's a little more comfortable. Gets me into that 6,000-pound vehicle that I can use for tax depreciation. So, you know, it wasn't all just greed. Well, maybe it was greed, I guess, because either way, I get a new car and I get to write off some of the payment stuff. So there you go. But super happy with it. This is the second Jeep Grand Cherokee I've ever owned. The first one I had or still have it, is a 2015. It is the best vehicle I've ever had in my life from an experience. Just no mechanical issues, drives great, runs great. Still has the same brakes from when I bought it in 2015. I took it
shit.
in to get new tires last year, and I told the dude, hey, check the brakes. And he's like, they're fine. Just turn the rotors. No problem. Whereas that Cadillac I had was a maintenance nightmare. I mean, it already had several problems that I had to fix on it. So, boom. It's like, well, let me go get something more reliable, something I can use to write off against my taxes a little bit. And slamming got me a new Cherokee. I love it.
Love it.
So,
Aaron
there
said,
you
I
go.
didn't know Cherokee was in the 6th. I'm pretty, this one
The
is.
Grand
This one's
Cherokee is. The Cherokee isn't, but the Grand Cherokee is. And the Grand Wagoneer is even bigger.
This thing's a tank, and it's beautiful. I could smell the new car smell from outside of the car. Well, kind of before we bring Josh on, the talk a little bit about what we were talking about at lunch real quick yesterday. Just kind of that oomph that you got from going in there and just the sales kind of negotiation. I mean, I think it's so applicable to what we do on a daily basis in insurance.
It is. And I actually had this conversation with the sales guy, but one of the things that's true about sales and buying is that you, as a salesperson, you sell in the same way that you buy. Right? So if you struggle to make decisions when you're buying large purchases or any kind of purchase, that's probably the same way that you sell. So if you run into a lot of people that are real hesitant in buying from you, maybe you want to look at your buying habits a little bit. So it was nice just to be able to walk in there. I mean, I've done well in the insurance industry. I'm not absolutely crushing it, but we're financially very stable. So it was nice just to be able to walk in there and flex a little bit. Those guys tried to flex on me with the crazy number that they came back, and I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, that's not the game that we're playing. Everything that you just wrote down on that sheet, yeah, that's not what we're doing. And I left. I walked out of the dealership, and then I put together the deal the way I wanted it. And I sent him a text. I'm like, look, if you can do that deal, I'll come back and I'm in. But if you can't, then no worries. And they text me back like, yeah, we can do that for you, Mr. Merwin. No problem at all. And then I walked in there, handed him the keys to my Cadillac, grabbed the new Jeep, and deuces, I'm out.
There we go. I love it, dude. Good stuff. Good stuff. It is so true, right? You sell how you buy. I love that. That's a great point, man. So, but kudos to you. I'm happy for you. It is a freaking sick car too. So, and I accidentally took your keys yesterday. My fault. Me and Tony's car, the keys look somewhat similar in the older Jeep that he has. So that's my fault. Well, let's go ahead and get into it, man. We've got a lot of comments popping off, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, real quick, we do have, it might be Larry Buckaloo. I'm sorry, Larry, it's probably you. Make sure and let StreamYard view your comments. I think you just have an issue, Larry, because you have like 7 Facebook profiles. So anyways, guys, we are super excited. I have recently got to meet Josh, obviously, and he'll kind of share some of his story and just how we got connected. But just everything he's doing, especially as a newer agent. And if you are a newer agent or even just in your first year or two, make sure you have your pen and paper, because even as somebody who's new, he's doing everything right and by the book and growing and diversifying. So without further ado, let's give a nice warm welcome to my man, Mr. Josh Lippincott. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys?
What is up, man? It's good to have you.
Thank you guys, for the opportunity to be here. As somebody that has been on now both sides, I love watching this in the syndicate, to be a part of it and be on this side is awesome. It's a really, really cool experience. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We're definitely happy to have you on. So thank you for joining us. Why don't you just take a quick moment? I mean, we have met you and we obviously see you in the group supporting the show on a regular basis, but just take a moment and let all our viewers kind of know who you are and kind of what you're up to.
Yeah. So based in Northeastern Pennsylvania, brand new to insurance, really. Like I'm talking, so I got licensed November of 2022, joined Allstate literally the next day. So I got licensed the next day. I joined their MCA program, dove into that, did all their training. That was a really cool experience because I learned so much, but it was just one of those things that as soon as you broke out of that and they kind of set you loose, it just wasn't what they painted the grand picture to be. And I realized really quickly that this wasn't like that. I loved insurance and I loved the aspect of helping people. And I knew that this was what I wanted to do, but it wasn't what I was going to do with them. And, with giving back to the community from my previous job, and I didn't really get to do that a lot with them. So to be able to dive into something that is 100% community based is a really big driving factor for me. So ended up leaving Allstate in March. Came across Cody Askin's video interviewing Joe here.
Would you look at that? Really, you did?
And just the stuff that Joe was saying, and kind of it just lit a spark, and it hooked me right in, and I actually ended up throwing my name in. It was like a placement service that Cody offered.
Yep.
And Joe picked up, hit me up. We started talking, and it was just, business from there.
Right on. When you say community based, like expand on that. Like what drives you in that aspect? Like how are you wanting to participate, maybe make an impact in that regard?
So one of the big things that I always enjoyed with my old job was helping on the customer service side. And I apologize, I have a bit of a head cold, so if I cough or mute up, I've always loved just being able to be that problem solver for people, from a point A to point B. I did 4 years. I kind of cut my teeth, before going really big into sales. I was on a customer service team. And it was just one of those things that it helped shape what I do in sales. So diving into the insurance world, I'm taking what I learned in the music industry and kind of putting it, into the local community. Be it, so one of the things I started was called a Friday Focus on my Facebook page. And that is basically just me highlighting a local entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it may be, small business, where I just talk them up basically on my page. It's not a mention of me in any way. It's not a partnership. It's not, a plug. It is strictly just putting my spotlight, my tiny little spotlight on them. And, hey, this is something that our community should support. I've done it for realtors, restaurants, my barber, which absolutely went insane. It's just, it's a lot of fun. It's nice to kind of.
And with that, when you give, you get, right? Yeah. It's like, hey, and it's not, there's a difference between giving and getting, but also expecting something in return if you're going to do it, right? You're not really you're not going into it being like, hey, you better start sending me business after I do this for your company, right? It's more of, hey, I just want to support my community. And when you do that, we just had a show on this not too long ago about when it came to recruiting, and just letting people know what you do and just getting out in your community, right? Obviously, you guys, a lot of you know about softball. Hell, now I'm talking about lacrosse. I sponsor a lacrosse team too, because I just love that community there within that sport, right? Whatever that might look like. So I want to real quick though, because you're like, oh yeah, the music. You just skipping past it right in the insurance. I want to go back and maybe even talk about kind of maybe before you got into Martin and all that side of, because I love what you said. I attest, and it was so funny. I was actually just talking to my first boss yesterday, Tracy Bibb, and I attest so much of my success in sales when I got into sales and production because of the customer service, right? Because I knew everything that happened after I pushed the button. So then when it was time for me to push the button, it made me that much better. Yeah. Take us back and kind of go through that and just what was the company? What were you doing? All that good stuff.
So it's a little bit of a hard story to tell just because it was both a bright spot in my life and a dark spot in my life. I was a college student. It became basically go to school and be homeless and get a degree that I was focused on getting, or drop out of school, go work in a factory and support, now my wife, my then girlfriend, and, we move in on our own and start our life together. I'm not going to go into details of why that is, but that was the cards I was dealt at the time. And obviously, you know, I dropped out of school, joined. It just so happened that Martin was hiring. So for those who don't know, Martin Guitar Company, they're the largest acoustic guitar manufacturer in the US, based right here in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. I'm maybe 9 minutes from them. So joined in, and I immediately got thrown on the factory floor. I was take everything. So I actually started in production, building, you know, finalizing, final inspecting these guitars. And I'm a musician myself. You can't see it, but there's literally an acoustic guitar behind me here. I'm always noodling.
Is it a Martin?
The one behind me is not, because I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, but I have Martins.
Understood.
That one's not. Yeah, the Martin.
That one's
They
the
don't
one that
stay
if
out.
they break, it's okay. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I dove in and I learned everything, you know, top to bottom, from the final stages of building the guitar to when it left the building. Did that for about 5 years. And it was wonderful because it was hard work, but it let me learn, you know,
Right.
how to do hard work and how to be consistent in what I do. From there, climbed into customer service, got an opportunity, and did customer service with Martin for 4 years. And that was one of those things that it honestly shaped everything I do as a salesperson, and as, you know, just how I interact with, whether it's clients, prospects, because the people who own Martin guitars, and this is not a dig in any way, but they are some of the most passionate. 9 times out of 10, it was either I love it or what are you doing this, you know, and it was rough. But it was an experience I wouldn't trade for the world, because the team that I was in was awesome. You know, they took me in open arms and showed me the ropes really quickly. I picked up on it really quickly. And I did that. And I was literally, it was to the point where I was answering between 100 and 200 emails a day, 50 to 100 calls. Like, that phone rang,
Yeah.
I was the guy who picked it up. In between all that, they started what's called a buy from factory program, where you could actually come to the Martin factory. They have a giant museum, a big tour, and they actually set up a display out in the lobby that you could buy and take a brand new factory fresh guitar home with you.
That's cool.
I was the one that they kind of deemed the person to go out and sell these. So that was my first taste into the sales world at Martin. And then within a year, I was on the inside sales team. Did that for 4 years. I grew my territory. Now we're going right into, so I joined the sales team in 2019, and obviously COVID happened the next year, and the world went into a tailspin. I was basically in charge of the entire Northeast and entire Southwest. Had over 60 dealers under my territory, and I grew that territory from a $600,000 account to almost a $2 million account.
Jeez.
In the middle of COVID. And I did that all by strictly just working with the dealers, understanding their, you know, situation and, you know, what they were going through, because I understood they were small business owners. They were, you know, those mom and pop dealerships. Right. They were going through the same thing that we were going through, you know, laying people off. They were the only ones working, and a lot of what I did was just sympathize with them, and make it as easy as I possibly could on them to run their business.
Right.
So
let me question. This is just kind of a squirrel moment, but I'm just curious. What is your approach like to walk into I guess you would call it maybe a music store, or were you going like, was it not necessarily as a music store, like you're going to like a distribution kind of factory type setup, or what?
No.
What, like, hey, I'm just walking into a place trying to get them to either sell Martins or sell more Martins.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you even do that? What's your approach when you walk in there?
So a lot of it is not walking. What I was doing on the inside was telesales.
Sure.
I was picking up the phone and dialing. I have an outside rep that would work with me. So I would have a territory rep out in the field that would, identify possible prospects for us.
Okay.
But being real, the brand sells itself. You walk into a music store and say, "Hey, you want to sell Martin guitars?" They're going to jump on it every single time.
Yeah, any
Because
music
it is,
dealer that has any brains already knows what Martin is.
yes, 100%. It's the Gibson of electric guitars, the Steinway of pianos. Like it is the creme de la creme. It was both insanely easy and insanely challenging because of COVID and having to, kind of guide them, almost hold their hand, almost saying, "Hey, listen, yes, it's a big deal to buy into this, but we're going to work with you and we're going to put the product that's going to sell in your store, not, something that's going to sit on your shelves for 8, 10, 12 months."
Right.
So are they buying the merchandise from you at basically a wholesale level?
Yes.
Right. And then they're retailing it out?
Retailing it out. There is no middleman. It's a direct from factory to dealer and then dealer to consumer. So I guess technically your dealer is the middleman.
Yeah.
But Martin's always been like that because it's really built into their DNA to support those family, small and independent music stores.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it was by far one of the best jobs I've ever had. And the only reason I got out of it was because there was no glass. There was a glass ceiling, basically. My next step up out of inside sales would have been outside sales, which would have involved moving my family across the US, wherever they would have needed a rep. And all of our family is here in, either in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. And I didn't want to take my wife from her family, my kids from their grandparents.
Right.
So that it just kind of led to my next opportunity.
How did you find your way into insurance the first time from music again? I know you ended up with Allstate, but how did you make that transition?
So just did a lot of research and figured that I had a friend, actually a sales colleague of mine, that his brother was in insurance, doing more of the strictly like commercial stuff. And, we got to just kind of talking on it. And then I eventually researched it and had one of Allstate's recruiters actually find my LinkedIn and hit me up on there about, an MSA opportunity. And that's when I kind of put 2 and 2 together. And I was like, well, they're going to offer me $2,000 more if I get licensed prior, because it was a base salary. I was like, I can do this license. I can get licensed in this. And, it was just off to the races.
Nice.
Talk a little bit about just what that is, so people know kind of because here, I think this is important, right? And it will, as you get more into insurance, right, and obviously building your agency, you're going to come back and, a lot of people, you're probably overlooking it now, but the fact that your first taste of insurance was not necessarily a pleasant taste, in the ability to, again, what's my favorite word, guys? Drop it in the comments. To pivot, right? It's not like you took a step back. It's not like, hey, you know what? I'm just leaving the industry because this Allstate thing was just, ooh, wow, right?
Yeah.
It was more of, hey, let me pivot. I love what you said. He did research, guys. Like, how many of y'all are using what is at your fingertips, which is the largest freaking search engine out there, right? Which is Google, right? I mean, just do some research, and then you'll pull what you need to pull, right? You'll find what you need to find. I mean, we have so much information at our fingertips. But I love that because it was like, man, I'm doing this thing. I'm hyped. I gave a lot of credit to Allstate training. I think they make you very proficient in selling their product. They really teach you the ropes of insurance kind of right out the gate, right? For somebody that when I met you that you already knew that much about insurance, bro, like you'd been in like 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah. And 100% can credit their training program for that.
I'm kind of curious though, real quick, because and I didn't mean to interrupt y'all, but I think this is a fun moment to play with. My first experience in insurance was not a good one, and I think most people in insurance can probably relate with that. So it's a question for all the viewers, right? Drop pivot in the comments if your first experience in insurance was not your best experience or favorable, and you had to make that pivot, because I think that's true for most of us. We tend to get recruited into insurance, or we maybe quote unquote stumble in. And we don't always stumble into our right path, but we realize, hey, we're in the right industry. We're just not in the right vehicle within the industry.
Yeah.
Right. We need to find another lane.
I 100% knew I was in the right industry just by the day-to-day stuff. And, it never felt boring to me. It never felt repetitive. It was always something different. It just wasn't, like I said, the picture that they painted in recruitment was not the picture I was given at the end.
And so talk real quick about what the MSA is.
Yeah, so MSA is a captive agent, strictly inside of Allstate. You're a fully remote, basically, captive agent for Allstate, and eventually they get into the Nat Gen stuff. A lot of it was very corporate run. You had very limited ability to do anything outside, to be able to hold an event or go into a business. Even like I had to get so much approval for marketing, and even some of the Facebook posts, like I couldn't. They limit it very severely.
Or take it down. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of it was just, like I said, on paper, it was a phenomenal thing, to be able to work from home and be closer to my kids. And that was one of my goals when I did leave Martin, was I wanted to be a fully remote worker in some way, shape, or form. And it like I said, it just was both what I wanted, but not what I wanted. And as I got through the end of 2022 into 2023, it just progressively got worse, and progressively was like, all right, this is not, and I'm not going to dog on them because it's such a huge program.
Sure.
And I'm not here to bring anybody down, but it just, again, wasn't for me. There's some people I know that are in there and are absolutely killing it. They had that market. For me, because I'm in Pennsylvania and my natural market is a lot of New Jersey based, because I'm from New Jersey and I'm literally right on the state line. It just didn't play well for me. I didn't have a lot of market to dive into, and I don't have a lot of, or at the time didn't have a lot of influence in where I'm living, because I've always been tied back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing. My first spot was not the fit for me. There were guys that were killing it. Right. There's guys writing 500 times the production I am on a weekly basis. And so it wasn't that Family Heritage wasn't a great vehicle. It wasn't my vehicle. I didn't know how to drive it. Right. I got in and it was all foreign to me. I wasn't trained how to drive it. And I was like, this is crazy. And so I had to go find something else. And thankfully, I did find a space where someone actually mentored me and taught me how to drive the car better.
Yep. Okay. So this is a perfect segue into kind of where I wanted to go with this next. And it's not really a hot seat, but it kind of is, but it's not. And because Josh, as a new agent, and again, guys, obviously he's with Redwood. So I have a little bit more eyes on, but he's doing literally everything the right way. And especially obviously you guys know in this market, it's definitely not easy. It's easy for people to want to take shortcuts and do things the wrong way so that they can get a commissions check, because we know that it's just more difficult to place business right now. But before we even get into that, like I'm talking, all right, I'm going to start the Lippincott Group, right?
Yep.
Talk about just the steps and the process, maybe the systems. What was the step-by-step process that you did to basically start I just think there's going to be a lot of value for a newer agent that, or maybe somebody that's in that kind of needs to regroup, or maybe I'm already in, but I'm thinking about doing something on my own. Yeah. Like I'm talking step-by-step. What did you do to kind of start your company and take us through that?
Yeah. Find Joe, profit. No, I'm kidding. So I left Allstate in March, started the company in May. In that in between was a lot of just research and planning. It was figuring out the LLC stuff. It was figuring out all right, I'm licensed in Pennsylvania. Is there any other states that I can get my non-resident in? Is there anything, I can dive into? Obviously a lot of that was getting with you, Joe, and kind of, you know, figuring out Redwood and joining the Redwood team. Once I had kind of the ground floor laid, the foundation laid, it was all right, how can I put myself out there? How can I get my name, into my community? And it's been both. You said I'm doing everything right. I'm doing a lot of it right. I've had some learning experiences and some stuff that has just fallen flat on its face as well. It's always going to be a learning experience. For me, the biggest thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just get out there. I don't want to be the insurance agent that calls and bugs his family and friends. Hey, buy from me. Like, that has never sat well with me. It almost feels slimy to me. But I will 100% put a spotlight on other businesses and try to build that relationship up. Whether it's I'm going in and, honestly, what I started with was places that I frequented, places
Right.
that I was going in on a day-to-day basis, saying, hey, yeah, I was the Martin sales guy. Now I'm in insurance. Here's my card. If you guys need anything, feel free to hit me up. I have never been a pushy salesperson, even when I was with Martin, because I know what I provide is going to be a benefit. It's just a matter of if they're wanting to buy in and be a part of that. And that's really what I based the Lippincott Group on, was, being that agency that's going to stand apart from all the rest and doing it in a way that makes us, I don't want to say seems better, but makes us more relatable than all the others. We're going to check in on you. We're going to make sure that we're, doing everything in our power to make sure you're protected and you have the right coverage, whether it's, auto, home, renters, commercial, whatever. Eventually we'll get to life, but that's a whole nother bridge.
I'm curious, just not to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
I guess to put you on the spot, have you gone back to Martin and tried to sell them commercial insurance yet?
So I have not yet. It will happen. The big thing with Martin is I was the dumb new insurance agent. I almost burned that bridge by hitting up all my friends and doing what, Big
Right.
Blue wanted. And hey. So I will, and I've been in since, I didn't leave Martin with any ill will.
Right.
I have 100%, people that I still keep in touch with, and industry leaders. I'm still very, like, in touch with the music industry as a whole, because I love music in general. But yeah, to answer the question, and I will get there, just it hasn't happened yet.
I love you're talking about, kind of just the MO, right? Behind the Lippincott Group. And it's, you said it earlier when you were with Martin, is that you just want to be that, like that problem solver within the community, right? Which I think, you said Martin was very community based with the mom and pop shops, like making sure they're there for it can be the biggest guys or the smallest guys. It doesn't matter. They're there for their community. Right.
Yep.
And I think you've been able to really, transfer that over into building this new business. Right. And I love it, because that's what insurance is, right? It's like we're
100%.
we're in a relationship business, guys. It's so important. What up, Joe? Joseph's, I think he's like on his way to the office right now. So we're hanging out today. We're gonna do some cold calls on some truckers today. That's gonna be fun. But I wanted to go back to this because Josh, you said this, and I want to see how you think you're going to apply it to your agency, because it's super important. And Tony, I would definitely like your insight on this as well. The brand sells itself. I wrote it down, right? And we talk a lot about just branding, right? And who to brand and how to brand. And, you know, a lot of people, like even when I'm talking about building a business page and stuff like that, hey, that's great. You can have a business page if you ain't putting money behind it, just kind of use it for credibility.
Yep.
But a lot of people will push that so much that they lose sight of who the actual agent is. Like people aren't doing business with Redwood Agency Group, right? Or Clarity now, obviously after the merger and everything. Like they're doing business with Joe. It doesn't matter who's backing up Joe because they know who Joe is. And then whatever's backing up Joe, if Joe's sitting here and he's genuine, right? And I'm the problem solver in my community, they don't care who's backing me, right? And ultimately, now, I guess to an extent, right? I don't want to go out there selling a bunch of shit policies with a bunch of companies that go insolvent every year. So that's kind of part of it. But, you know, I think that is so important in how you brand yourself, not necessarily branding yourself as a product or as a person or as a company, excuse me, but more as, hey, this is Joe, right? And I'm branding myself as that trusted advisor.
Yep.
But it's not about the Redwood logo. It's not about it. It's about doing business with Joe, right? So I want to kind of maybe, and Tony, maybe if you want to take a little bit of time on that, and then Josh, have you come in and provide some insights, because again, you're selling for Martin, right? The brand sells itself. It's totally different. Tony, maybe talk a little bit on, just because obviously all the branding and everything that you're doing with Avila and on Grace's side of things, what would you recommend to people, I guess, on that subject? How are you doing it? Just to drop some value for anybody that maybe is trying to rebrand, needs to work on their brand. Maybe they're only operating as a company and not as an individual. What you got on that, Merwin?
First, I would say you're spot on in regards to people do business with people. People don't really do business with businesses, right? I probably wouldn't have bought that Jeep had the salesperson not been absolutely aces. Like he's the rookie sales guy of the year, had awards, but he was super cool, very relatable, great dude. Like the kind of guy I would go out to lunch or go out and have a beer with and want to hang out with, right? And goof off with. Like, so I fell in love with the salesperson and already liked the product. You know, product sold itself. I knew I wanted a Jeep, and it was just, who's the guy that's going to meet me to give me my needs, kind of thing. But think about that from a larger brand perspective or marketing perspective. Why does Progressive have Flow out front?
Right.
Why does AT&T have Lily out front? Why is Dennis Hayes, or used to be Haywood, out for or Hayworth, I think it was named, for Allstate?
Right. Or Mayhem. Yeah.
Now it's Mayhem guy. Why is there always, for these biggest brands, why is there a big front person that's up there that people can do what? They can relate with.
That's a good point.
Right? They can't relate with Progressive. They can't relate with AT&T so much, but they can relate with that person. Right. And that person becomes the brand. So when I started to create Avila, I knew that immediately, once Grace and I brainstormed our vision and we knew where we wanted to go, we knew what the end result looked like. Then it was like, okay, so from the gate right out, we have to come out branding very hard. And what are we going to do? Well, we're going to put you as the face of the brand because she fits that model, right? She fits our exact brand, right? She's attractive. Right. She's Latino, right? She looks the part. It's perfect. So that's absolutely true. So I think as an agent, I'm not saying that you have to become the Flow of Progressive, for example. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to be like a real estate agent and plaster your face on every business card and postcard you can get. But it's important to wrap your brand around yourself as much as you can. Be that brand, even if it's just your name. State Farm does it. State Farm, John Phelps, State Farm, right? Dave Haywood, State Farm, right? It always has that agent's name on the marquee column because they want to also, hey, you're backed by State Farm, but this is Dave Johnson's business. You're dealing with Dave Johnson. Jeff Grimm talked about this. He bought a family-owned agency. Did he rebrand the agency? No, because they had that dominant brand already. He's like, I'm not taking away everything that you've built as a family-owned agency. Right. Everybody was used to that brand because people do business with people, man. That is an absolute fact. And we'll do business with people that we respect, that we like generally. We don't always have to be friends with the person that we buy from, but we want to know that they're respectful, they're trustworthy, and we can relate to them. And if you can put yourself out there, and I did this with PSM, and I didn't realize what I was doing for a long time, but then all of a sudden, the brand became Tony Merwin. It didn't become PSM for a while. Everybody's like, no, they didn't say, like, who's got your contract? So, my contract with Merwin.
Right.
They didn't say my contracts were with PSM. They said, oh, Merwin's got all my contracts. So it's same kind of concept. And if you can learn to bleed that, so to speak, in what you do for a living, you're going to find more people wanting to be part of your network and wanting to do business with you.
Right. Well, and think about if who's backing you changes. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
If you're all Big Blue or however you want to brand, right, and it's all company, and then that company goes away or changes or whatever that might look like, right? Where does that leave a Joe, right? And so I think that's super important as well, is that if it's all flowing to Joe, again, it doesn't really, I know what I'm doing on the back end, right? I don't necessarily need the consumer knowing that. So even if it does change, I can do a quick pivot, right?
Very true.
What are your thoughts on that, Josh? Even just again, coming from Martin, obviously now building your business. What do you think?
Kind of two sides of this story. You know, Martin, they do everything. I had no say on social media. So they have a whole team, they have a whole marketing, you know, it's $100 million corporation, essentially, you know, they're going to handle all the social media aspects. Switching over to insurance, honestly, Allstate, I did everything wrong. You know, they set you up with a business page, you plaster nothing but insurance, you know, over and over and over again. And I'm thankful because I didn't do that on my personal. I only did it on that business page. Switching over to the Lippincott Group, I am 100% in, you know, the trenches when it comes to what I put out there. And the biggest and I'm taking this right from Joe because you were the one who kind of put the bug in my ear. I split up what I post. So I'm still using the business page. I have the Lippincott Group business page. I post on that probably once a week, you know, just to kind of keep it at the forefront and keep it relevant. My personal page, I'm working on getting up to 3 a day. There's days when I can do it. There's days when, you know, I struggle just because of, you know, my daughter or whatever pops up, you know. But my big thing with it is posting something personal, because it's my personal page, you know, and there's no right or wrong answer. There's no right or wrong order to do this. Posting something, you know, humorous, sports related, something kind of off topic that people can relate to, and then posting something insurance related. And normally what I do is I'll post something insurance related in the morning or afternoon because I'm here and I'm available. You know, if I do get somebody biting and wanting to get a quote or needing help, I'm available and ready to help however I can. The personal stuff I posted last night, you know, end of the day, I was sitting here just kind of browsing Facebook and I had a big win yesterday where, you know, I've been doing a weight loss journey, and stepped on the scale for the first time in about a week, and I'm down 30 pounds officially, which is awesome. I'm at the lowest weight I've been in as long as I can remember. I don't remember when I was, you know, as low as what I am, and I still have a long way to go, but you know, it's steady progress.
Let's go, man. Good for you.
Threw that out there, and it was like electric. You know, people love a feel good story. It absolutely lit up my social media, and it's not one of those things like you have to be I had a word and I just blanked on it. You have to be like oh man, like real. You have to be real about it.
Authentic.
You know, authentic. That's
like a Martin guitar.
Yep. So you have to be authentic in what you're posting. If not, people are going to pick up on it right away. You know, if you're out there just trying to quote unquote fake it till you make it, you know, you can do that if you can play the part in you know, your business aspect. But when you're out there, you know, saying stuff that you can't back up or posting, you know, things that you can't kind of show, you'll eventually get called out and it's gonna have a bad look.
You want to know one word that I'll attach to authentic? it's also vulnerability, right? I think people can really relate and tap in. Yeah. And they can really tap into that because it's hard to be vulnerable. Let's be honest. Like I'm not sitting there trying to like go out on Facebook and you're where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm a little vulnerable here. You know, I am sharing that I feel like I'm overweight and that's why I'm doing this and this. And you're putting that out there in front of, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of people. That's getting pretty vulnerable, right?
It's accountability,
it's real, like what you said. Yeah. That too, dude. I love that. That's so good. Okay, so I want to take the last probably 5 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap up. But the last 5 minutes, I see this a lot where everybody needs to know everything before they start bringing people along with them. So I want you to talk about kind of just your thoughts on that, where hey, like Josh, your agency's been open, 3-4 months now. And Josh already has been interviewing people, already has a rock star producer that is partnered with his agency. Talk about the reasoning behind that and what you think the power is behind that.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real for a minute. She has more experience than I do, you know, and I'm like, I look at it this way. I'm always learning. I'm a sponge when it comes to this, you know, whether it's insurance, whether it's life, like, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not afraid to sit there and say, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing in some aspects, you know, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to learn to do it right. You know, I'm going to take that torch and I'm going to run with it. In the Lippincott Group, my big thing is I want to help people who are or were in the same situation that I was in, you know, whether it be a captive agent that is just kind of under the thumb, whether it's, you know, somebody who is just struggling with what they want to do or who they want to be, you know, or they're in an independent agency that maybe isn't checking that box, but they have all those qualities that, you know, you pick up on in a person that, you know, they're going to be successful. You know, I'm not an insurance agent. I don't claim to be, you know, it wasn't something that I knew I was going into until I researched it and figured out this is what I want to do. So as far as bringing people with me, you know, I'm always open to it. You say it best, you know, you want to do it alone. You want to, I don't even, you want to sprint, you do it alone. You want to
go fast, you do it alone. You want to go far, you do it with others, man.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, well, you know, there's just, and I talk about it all the time. There's so much, I guess we'll say the right word would be value. There's so much value in being in the trenches with somebody, right? It almost even kind of goes back to that vulnerability where like, hey, I don't know as much, right? But I mean, you must be providing value elsewhere. Otherwise, you would have just gone and signed with somebody else, right? But I think part of that too is, hey, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. Excuse me. But I promise you, I'm going to be in the trenches with you. I promise that I'm going to figure it out, right? Again, I may not be perfect now, but I think, you know, again, I see a lot of threads, comments, posts out there, whatever. Is like, don't start doing that until you know everything, right? And until you have it all set up and all lined up and this, and this. And I'm like,
you'll just sit there and spin your wheels.
Right. Or you'll be, you know, 6 months to a year behind, if not longer. I've seen people roll solo, and don't get me wrong, nothing against solo shops if that's what you're trying to do. I will say, if I were you though, there's a go on. I see shameless plug there, Merwin.
Yes.
Lily, don't put up. Lily is our producer backstage. Don't put up that comment, Lily.
Too late.
But no, I think there's just, again, there's a lot of power that's built into really doing that. And I tell people, especially on the property and casualty side, hey, we're not making a ton up front, but man, we get paid it forever, right? So if you look at it, if Josh comes in the door and he's good, I'm ready, like I'm learning, I'm a sponge, I'm coachable, right? And he just goes a whole year, right, of building his agency. But don't get me wrong, that is what it is. But at that year, basically the start of year 2, when those renewals start coming in, would he rather have renewals coming in from just himself or from 2 people? Like 2 people. Bingo, right? So like the longer that you take, the slower it's going to take to really, again, build out that agency. And we all know, you know, I've seen Cody's name get dropped in here a few times, is 92% of us fail in our first 2 to 3 years. I mean, these are the hardest times. So the faster that you can ramp up, the faster that you can be vulnerable and tell somebody, hey, look, I know I don't know it all, but I promise you, or offer them. We've talked a lot about this, Josh, offering them a career path. What do you really, and Tony, we just did a show on this probably a couple of months ago or a couple weeks ago. What are you putting in front of your people to make them, want to work with you, right? Or to partner with you, whatever verbiage you want to use there.
And that was the big thing with her. It was, she actually found me through social media. So to touch on
look at that. Would you look at that, guys?
and she hit me up and was like, and honestly, I told her no at first because it was one of those things where I had just gotten, the foundation laid. I was just hitting the ground running. I hadn't thought about bringing somebody on board, and it was like, whoa. Let me think this through. Let me see what I can work up. Let me see what, if I can make this work for both of us and maybe more, and I was super upfront with her. I was, you got to be honest. You got to be upfront. You got to be real.
Right.
You have to hold yourself accountable, and realistically, that person you have to trust and you have to hold them accountable. If they're not, because at the end of the day, this is a infancy, it's an infancy of a business, and it's either going to grow or it's going to fail. And hell or high water, I'm going to grow.
Let's go.
But yeah, the plan ultimately is to learn as much as I can. I'm cutting my teeth as an insurance agent. I'm cutting my teeth as a business owner. I'm going to be diving in. And honestly, I want to bring at least one more person on by end of year, possibly 2. And I'm looking to get, the team to at least 5 at some point over the next 12 months. I look at it this way, we're in one of the hardest markets, but the hard markets are what breed winners.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The hard markets are what make or break agencies and agents. And I look at it this way. If I'm doing it in a hard market, when it gets easy, it's going to be butter.
I'll see you on, when I see you on the other side, dude. Yeah. I love that, dude. Yeah. So in closing here, what is for a new agent, right? Somebody that's getting going, or maybe again, somebody that's in their first 6 to 12 months that is struggling because of this. Give them just one piece of advice, man. Hey, this is the thing that really kind of helped take me to this next level, right? Or the mindset of,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't have that mindset. I'll tell you that right now. This is why I freaking love you, Josh, because a lot of people are like, man, this is such a hard market, dude. It's crazy. I'm this, excuse after excuse after excuse, right? And your mindset is, hey, you know what, dude, if I can do it in this shit, I'll just wait till the gates are open, man. So I love that. What is one bit of advice? New agent, man, if you could do one thing to just kind of kickstart their agency, what would you share with them?
Honestly, I would say do your research, know what you're getting involved with, and honestly, be yourself. Be yourself on social media. Don't put on that fake personality or because people are going to see right through that. You need to be genuine. You need to be yourself, and you need to be consistent. Doing that, the steps may be little, and there may be days when it feels like you're going backwards. Just keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing. Keep, get yourself a Joe. He has been a huge mentor for me and really the whole Redwood team. And just keep doing those little baby steps, because even if it's a single baby step forward, it's still a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's good, man. It's good. I love it, dude. Being authentic and vulnerable. Just being relatable, being the problem solver in your community, man. I got some good little nuggets out of this, dude. Tony, go ahead. Close us out, man.
Close us out, man. This is fantastic. I have a question.
Yeah.
What's next? Where do you want to go? How far do you want to take this? What's your vision?
To the moon. Now, ultimately, the grand scheme of things, I want something that I can pass down to my son or my daughter. I want this to be when people need insurance in my area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, great. We call our area the Lehigh Valley. When people need coverage in the Lehigh Valley, ultimately want to be the go-to. I want to be the guy that they look at and say, well, all my friends have their coverage through Josh and the Lippincott Group. I want to have my coverage through Josh and the Lippincott Group.
Absolutely. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I'm curious, how good are you at music? Like, can you pick up the Get Fiddle and just start playing? Not that I'm going to make you
bro,
play. I'm
do
curious.
Do it. Do it.
I don't
Pick
even
up
know
the
if it's in tune. Hold on.
Come on, just check real quick. That would be sick.
Let me see. Throw one of these back in.
And if you happen to know any Johnny Cash, like, you know.
I know I'm more of a blues guy, honestly.
I love the blues.
Oh, it's not picking up on it. I can't. Are you hearing that? I'm not hearing it.
I am. Sounds great. We might have to get together. I'll sing some blues if you can play the guitar.
Of course, I can't hear you guys.
Right. You took your
Get
butt
these
out.
back in here.
I said, it's like, we might have to get together. I'll sing some blues if you'll play the Get Fiddle
hey,
for me. So,
I'll bring a guitar down.
there you go.
I want to come down.
Man. So you need to write you a jingle.
Hey,
Using
that's
your
actually
acoustic.
Ooh, okay. I like it. I'm calling you out, Josh. That's your task for this week.
Okay.
I need a Lippincott Group song, bro, or a jingle, or as Joey Yak calls them, a banger. Dude, you should totally do that. That would be sick. You want to talk about branding? Oh man,
right?
That would be tight, dude. That's a good
Absolutely.
point, Tony.
Yeah. From selling Get Fiddles to selling premiums. Let's go. All right, brother. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on. We certainly appreciate it. This has been a super pleasure. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in, man. Y'all know it. We're here every Wednesday. We do it live. We do it real. And we always got great guests on like Mr. Lippincott here. So thank y'all for tuning in. If you haven't already, we say this, but if you haven't already, get your stinking butt over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Because then you can go back and you rewatch some of the videos that we have on there. We have all the libraries built. We got Luke's Monday show. We got my Tuesday show. We got the Wednesday show, Friday, Saturday. Like, they're all on there. And we're going to continue to grow that out. There's some great material in there. Feel free to subscribe. And also, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. We got our producer, Lily. She is out there pushing out great content. And it's a great way to see some of the shorts and pick up some great clips that are on there. So make sure you're doing that. We would appreciate that stuff. And as always, Thank you. It's the peak of the week. Time to put the throttle down. And let's finish this week strong, man. Thank y'all.
Let's
go.
go.
As always, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Wednesday.
And the brand sells itself, and y'all are the brand. Thank you guys so much. Have an amazing rest of your Wednesday. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thank you, guys.